right, well, welcome everybody. This is another episode of Inspiring Women Today TV. My name is Rodney Miles Tabor. I'm your host. I'm the publisher and the compiler of what I'm proud to say is a very good book called Inspiring Women Today. It's 16 true real-life stories of women that I found inspiring, that others are now finding inspiring, and a forward by New York Times bestselling author Chris Radish. It's available now on Amazon and other places, and it was released on March 8th, International Women's Day, and there'll be a new new edition released every year moving forward. Volume 2 is already in the works, actually. Our first interview for the second volume is taking place on Monday. This is a project long time in the coming. In other episodes and in the launch party videos on the channel, do subscribe, by the way, to the YouTube channel, because there are more interviews coming with women from the book, more behind the scenes stuff, and updates on the new volume that's coming out. You also have the opportunity to nominate somebody if there's someone who you feel has been an inspiration to you. And we don't go after Hollywood elite, we go after human beings. We go after people who you brush elbows with in the grocery store. We want your mother in the book, or your daughter, or your friend, or someone who's had an impact on you in some way. Our guest today is Kristina Savka. I was introduced to Kristina as part of this project. I forget if it was Lauren Clement or Belinda, one of my Australian friends spoke extremely highly of her. And I think she offers some very unique things that have added and made the book a better book. She brings a kind of a worldly sophistication to the book. I find it refreshing somehow, a clarity, and I don't know, talking to Kristina is like being on a mountaintop and taking a breath up there. It's nice, and maybe it's because she's such a good communicator, but I found it particularly interesting. Well, we'll discuss it in the interview, but there are aspects of her chapter that you don't find in the other chapters. There are aspects of her chapter that I think actually exemplify what I was trying to do with the book. And interestingly enough, her chapter, I believe, is back here on page 97. I'm sorry, 97. It's called Out of Hiding. I'll show you a photo and then I'll introduce you to Kristina here. And again, every chapter in here is special to me. This one stood out and really did add some things to the book that were very valuable to me, that I thought were great. So I'm grateful she's here. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Kristina Savka. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for the welcome.
Sure.
Thank you for your kind words.
Oh, sure. And on a more personal note, I've come to call Kristina my sister from another mister. Anyway, I really enjoyed interviewing you. I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you through the process. And now that the book is launched, it's been even, I'm even more grateful because you've been an energetic and very keen supporter of the whole project. So that's deeply appreciated. We'll probably flip roles and have Kristina interview me at some point. This is her profession. She's in fashion, modeling, media. So I'm very grateful. So welcome. For people who are meeting you for the first time, tell us a little bit about Kristina Savka.
Well, what I do at the moment, I am a signature style strategist. So this is a really lifelong passion for me. I have been dressing and making women and men feel absolutely incredible. I have close to a 35-year career. So my mission is to empower people with their presence and to amplify their brand. And ultimately, they're elevating their style, who they are. And style is an inside and an outside job. So this has taken a very long time to evolve to where I am today. And I have done a lot of different roles within the fashion industry. And today, this is a culmination of all of those 3 decades. So today, people like entrepreneurs, corporate executives, anyone that needs to show up on camera and create a message with their brand, that is my specialty. And it's not just creating, the perfect outfit or the right color. It's about your vocal presence. It's about your energy. How do you live? How do you sustain the body that you have? And how do you then project that through the lens and also in person? So when you enter a room, what is that presence, that energy that comes through? So it is a real package, and it's a real process. It's a shedding of the old to create the new. But it isn't really new because it's always been in there. And the reason why I have titled my chapter Out of Hiding is that once those layers start peeling, that person that's inside starts to shine through, and there's no more hiding, and you're okay and comfortable to show up.
How does that feel, by the way? I'm kind of jumping way ahead, but I to to I mean, I know for myself, we called it we lost our sensor, or this filter. You reach a certain age, and for me, it was 50, and it was some other things where you get okay in your own skin. And what fascinates me is in your line of work, in your career. Um, I just think that's a brilliant juxtaposition. You're not creating fake facades. You're drawing out the real person. And how does
Well,
it feel to come out this way and be this candid in this book, for example? Because you are very candid in the
well, yeah, it's really interesting. First of all, I'm just going to ask you, you did press play, right?
yes, yes. Good question.
Sometimes we get a bit excited. What happens is with fashion, we are taught to camouflage and minimize the flaws and highlight the good things, right? So it's a given that we are trained this way. It serves its purpose. People feel and look amazing. But what I found over time is that it also helps us hide as people. If we're always hiding the flaws, we inevitably start hiding other parts of ourselves, because fashion is it's kind of like a cloak or a cape, or we put it on so that like a mask, so that others don't have to see who we are. When I got to the ripe old age of 50, which wasn't so long ago, um, I said to myself, this isn't a time to hide anymore. This is really a time to show people who we are. What is that core of us? What is the wisdom, the things that we've learnt? Now, to learn things in life, that takes experience, good and bad, right? And I thought to myself, if we are really to be effective in the world, we must show what those experiences are. Whether that they make us look good or bad is irrelevant, because when I reached this age, I really got clear that other people's judgments were not my business.
Mm.
When I was younger, other people's judgments were so powerful. They were so powerful that they actually changed who I was and how I thought about myself. And so fashion, being the tool, was the thing that I used to hide very cleverly, and became so good at it. But as the years rolled on, especially after having children, where there was no time to put on that garment or makeup or hair, whatever, there was no time to hide. I was literally living with the rawness and the realness of my humanity while I was raising my children. And as I would look in the mirror, I would say, who is this person? What has she been through? What are the things that she has done and the experiences that have shaped her that she will now impress upon three other beings? Because I've had three children. And what will she teach them, and who will she have to be? And the shedding process began. Coincidentally, that would be about 15 years ago. My son will be 15. My eldest son will be 15 next week.
Wow.
So it's been a real process. It doesn't happen overnight. And so what had happened is it was a slow progression of coming to terms with the person that I am. Now, if you read the chapter, you will see that I had lived through many, many tragedies. So the reason to hide was really high. And so, and the fashion, the tool of fashion was an accessible and a great means to be able to do that. And you could just run away and be anyone that you wanted to be. But there was no time to do that once those children came along.
Mm.
As they started to grow and progress, and I'd moved more back into the professional arena, dealing with other adults and humans, I had started to see that I needed to also use what I learned and now start to expand and explore that, and to become more realistic with the people that I worked with and those that I impressed and those that came into my world, that I would, dress and help to create this persona. And I started to talk to them a lot more deeper about who they were before they wore that outfit. Where was their mind at? What were they thinking? Who were they being? How were they living? What were they putting into their bodies? And so I started to give them so much more of me in those sessions. And the feedback was astronomical. And that's when I realized, oh my goodness, I'm a life coach, I'm a counselor, I'm a stylist, I'm a designer, I'm all of these things all wrapped into one. And depending on what they needed, it was all just starting to work for these people. And I realized that that was to be my life, my mission now in life, and my purpose.
Wow.
So I'm on this incredible journey of evolving. You never stop evolving. I'm on this incredible journey now to really give to humanity all of my knowledge, both internal and external, and to help them now shine. So I'm super excited about this.
Yeah. Well, it's had an effect on me. I grew up with family members, my grandfather in particular, who you were walking on eggshells. And I only realized this recently, that it made me so diplomatic. It made me so concerned about the tone of the room as a kid, because you didn't want grandpa getting upset, and other people too. But the point of that is, fast forward and through a series of little epiphanies and things you experience and go through, you start to covet people who are just comfortable in their own skin and genuine and speak their minds, especially. So I don't know. I really value what you bring to the book in your chapter, and I think it's just kind of brilliant how it's juxtaposed in fashion and an appearance, a business of appearance. And it really fascinates me how these sort of, if I can call them, breakthroughs for you in your personal life and your personal relationship with the world, how it it didn't ruin your career. If anything, it's enhanced it in maybe a very unique way that make you stand out amongst your peers. I wanted to ask you, for me, reading your chapter, things seem to be going in the direction of being open about the tragedies you've been through, and as hard as that can be, because I think you and I both are coming out of an age where certain things weren't spoken about, and I think that's why they persisted, and that's part of my purpose with this project, and one of the reasons I'm grateful. The one thing I require of anyone in the book is candor. It's not any particular demographic or anything, or any particular kind of story. It's candor, and you definitely brought candor. Now, I think in your chapter, it seems to me to get really cemented and validated when you start having children in your life, and the effect. If I recall right, you talk about how there's just no, and I know as a father, there's no hiding when you got children around. So my question is, up until these points, like this chapter in this book, is this the first time you've been this open about these personal experiences and these things we're talking about, or did it come out of the blue, or did it kind of lead? Did events kind of lead to this, to us talking today?
That's a very good question, actually. Yes, I have. I mean, those that know me personally in a very small community would know of these tragedies, but on a grander scale, no. It's something that I kind of kept hidden for a while. And one of the, I think it was about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was on a photo shoot, and it was for the Southeast Queensland Conference for the Seventh Day Adventist Church, and the woman, she was photographing me, and at the end she said, "Oh, would you mind doing something for our community?" And I thought, okay, no warning. And she said, "We just need a 5-minute testimonial. Just talk about your experiences." And I thought, oh, and she flipped the camera open, and all of a sudden I started to just blurt out this story of what had happened to me about the pedophile abuse from the age of 5 to 15, and how it had impacted me in that community. And then I thought, what have I just done? This is out. Because when that had gone live, it was like, I think 800 views in like 2 or 3 days. I was like, I guess I'm out of hiding. I'm out there now.
Wow.
And then I thought, wow, like it was kind of liberating. It was scary. And yes, I did think, my brand, how's this going to go down? How am I going to cover that? Like, you can't use some kind of a coat or an outfit or a dress to hide that flaw. And then I kind of sat with it for a while, and I thought, this is okay. And then this whole idea of being raw, real, and authentic, transparent was a big trend online. Share your story, let people know who you are. And I thought, yeah, I'm a big girl now. I don't really care what people think anymore. This is who I am. This is my past. This is what had happened to me. And in actual fact, this is what shaped me to who I am today. And it was really interesting. So that was kind of like that real introduction. And then I kind of tucked it away and just let it, slide into the background. And when Lauren Clement put this post up in her group, and it was like, golden opportunity, who wants to be part of this project? And I thought, me, I want to be part of this project. And then I was like, did I just say me? Heck, that means I'm going to have to share. What am I going to share? And I thought, And my brain started ticking, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to tie it all together, just like I'm doing with my work today. I'm tying in all my experiences in my current program, coincidentally, which is called The Amplified Woman, How to Become Really Amplified and Out There. And I thought, what would I say? What angle would I choose? And so I thought, I'm going to take the reader on a journey. Not too much depth, enough for them to really understand. I mean, how much can you possibly say in a chapter? But enough to give them an overview, and also as a lead in to get comfortable to one day soon write the entire book,
Mm.
all the chapters. So this was kind of like another layer, another unveiling, another shedding, another giving point in my life. And so this is where I started to connect the dots and be comfortable and okay to share the early childhood trauma, and then the lead in and the breakthrough, and tie it all back to, what am I doing today? And if you have a look, you'll see there is no hard pitch or hard sell at the end of the chapter. I didn't want to brag or put any of that stuff, because there were two things that I really excelled in at school, two subjects, theology and textiles, two T's. Always loved ministry, people, speaking, healing, giving. It was such a big thing. And I really wanted to go to a theological seminary. I was so close, but, the wounds were so deep. They were so deep that I ended up choosing textiles, fashion, design. Once again, it was a tool to hide, but I never ever forgot the ministry. It was something that I kept really deep in my heart. But now I get to bring that ministry to life in the way that I minister to people's lives, in how I showed them how to shine, and come out and to be that personal brand and to express themselves and be okay, and really, really start to put all of my expertise, the things that they don't know how to do, I bring that to them and I put that package together in that Amplified Woman program. And it really, it makes my heart sing to see people transform,
Mm.
to really lean in to the knowledge and then to go on that journey themselves. So this is how that had 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 come into being, and I was okay with it. It's really, it's truly just the beginning of more things to come. So that's how I see it. And so the title, Out of Hiding, it kind of came to me midway as I looked at all the things I was collecting and drawing together. And I thought, there is a theme here. I've been hiding and I am birthing something. And so coincidentally, when the children were birthed, that was the birth of the new beginning, of the new era of Kristina. And she was going to be doing things in the world and shining in a different way and coming out more real than ever before. And so this is why to me, it's like fashion is dead. It's all about style.
Oh, wow.
That's my new motto, style all the way. And so that's what I live for, your personal human style.
Wow. And sometimes I I understand, I believe you've got to, I think people are afraid of that naked moment. That was really brilliant. You were describing, you did the interview, and then there was that moment like, what did I just do? What did I just say? Uh, everyone or a lot of people may have something similar, maybe on a smaller scale. You put something out on social media or you say something and to somebody or in a crowd that you that's deep seated that you have reservations about sharing, and up to that point you just kind of knew that the world would collapse if you were that honest with those around you, and then you find out you didn't die, you didn't I wrote a story in college writing class. I modeled it after the book of the instructors. It was very personal, and it was a little sentimental about childhood. And he tore it to shreds in the front of the class, and I was devastated. It actually got me away from writing for until I was about 40. I'll tell you the truth. But there was an older fellow in that class. I must have been 18, 19. And he had gray hair like I do now. So he's probably 50. But he came up to me after the class, just him, and he said, "Hey, man, I really dug what you were trying to say. I think I understand what you were trying to do with that." And it was great. Another friend of mine, he's a friend now. He used to be my boss as a professional speaker. He said some of the best advice he's ever gotten. His name's Sean Roach. He said, someone told him before he went out on stage one night, just remember, half the people out there already hate you. So talk to the half who love you. And that was important for me to, you realize you're not going to make everybody happy. And you stop living for these fake expectations that the society seems to demand. So when I think about, it seemed to me as you went along, it's hard. It's hard to admit things that are so personal, especially when you've been a victim of something like pedophilia. Um, and I noticed you used the word flaw before, and I thought that's interesting because we do when things happen to us. It's one of the challenges we go through. It's easy to see it as a flaw when it was actually something that happened to us. It's not necessarily a flaw. And Hemingway says we're strongest in the places that were once broken. And
Yes.
so, but what I kind of dig, you and I haven't talked about this much, but as a parent, it changes you because, and I'm imagining this is true for you, where you're almost all the way through this complete honesty thing, and you sort of realize, you look at your children and you don't want them to bottle things up. You don't want them to live in a world where so much is hidden. especially so much dark thing. You know, you want things exposed to sunlight, and you want them to have the freedom of expression that you're working on enjoying yourself. So I assume that for you, that was that part of your interest in being a part of the project, not just then but now, that this can do that for people. This can show them it's safe to be transparent.
Well, it's really interesting when I think back to that first interview. I had a few people say to me, was that all scripted? It just looked like I had rehearsed that and scripted it and perfected it, because there was no malice, there was no animosity. In fact, I was giving people hope. It just flowed out of me. As I listened back, I thought to myself, wow, like I've really arrived at a point that I'm okay with these things. And so this then helped me to deal with the things that my children would be expressing, how to deal with things, not just diplomatically to watch your P's and Q's, but to literally seek healing and to be okay and to move through. Because one of the key things, and coincidentally having boys, I've been researching a lot about the psychological damage of the things that happen to boys and how they cope. And they cope very differently to women. And so I went on this mission of understanding how would they be able to respond to incidences in their lives? What will it take for them to get through? And, you know, my biggest mission in life is that, you know, if something doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. But unfortunately, in this world, currently, we see so much suicide. And so for me, I thought to myself, who would I have to be? How transparent would I have to be with what I've been through to teach my kids that we must build this resilience so that we can survive? And so that this was the driving force of getting very present to the past and being okay to move forward, because we know young men, more than any, you know, between the ages of 20 and 18 and 24, they choose suicide. They don't deal with things. And so I said to myself, who would I have to be to help my children overcome tragedy in their lives? How transparent would I have to be? How do I show them that life is okay, that we don't need to choose addictions, we don't need to choose things that are self-harming and that take us down this rabbit hole of abuse and self-destruction. And so this whole rise into power, personal power, being okay and clear and fine, not fine as in an as in a let you off the hook, but forgiving the other person because it lets me off the hook. It lets my mind off the hook of being a prisoner to the things that happen. So it was a real stepping up, this whole grit and tenacity of who do I have to be so that my children can have a living role model example of anything that they come through in their lives. And it may not be, you know, the pedophile situation or, you know, anything of that nature, but it's anything that they experience. This was my personal ministry to my own children, because, you know, as I say, like, if you really get the concept of parenting, once you've been through that role of parenting and you've done your job, it doesn't stop there. You use those skills to take it to the wider community. You then start parenting others, those that didn't get it. You use your wisdom in the community. You start sharing the things that you use with your children and the person that you became, and you give that to humanity. There's always someone that is going to need the things that you gave to your children. There will always be someone. That's my personal take on parenting. And so you don't just arrive and then suddenly you go off into the sunset with your selfish ways. There is a work to be done. There are people, children, communities that need us to step up and to lead. So for me, this whole thing of even turning 50 is leadership. Who are we as people? What will we do? What will we say? What are the movements that we will create with our voice, our passions? This is our personal ministry to the world. And so to do this, we have to change. We've got to get clear. We've got to come out of hiding. We have to literally, be present and okay with the things that have happened to us, overcome them, and be that bigger person. Move through it, because somebody is going to need our hand. And honestly, resilience is a learned art. And we need people in our lives to show us the way, and then we need to show others the way, paying it forward all the time. And so this is what parenting had done for me. And so, yes, that the pivotal point was 15 years ago, having the children and starting to do the work. Because if I didn't do the work, they would then be another generation that would have the curses from the past, that generational things would be then passed on to them. And as they say, one person only can change the dynamic of a situation. Let it be you. If you've gotten that, go with it. Go with that. Grab that baton and run that race and do the work. Because otherwise, everything else in life is self-seeking. It's self-pleasure. It's for yourself to attain to, for yourself. To me, it's about giving out. It's for others.
Yeah, I think that's a level that we all are here to sort of achieve. And I have to tell you, this might be even more profound and true than you even know. I think I have a personal observation, a belief that there are things going on in the world right now in 2021 where the exact experience that you talk about and the exact example you set by living brilliantly with this sort of history, because they say a person is a story, and when you start to commingle with other people, and as more people are open about their lives and their thoughts, and you find out there's a third dimensional being there, and a project like this, because of women like you, I was kind of analyzing it for marketing the other day and realized some of the results that are achievable with this book are hope, help, the instantly finding out you're not alone. If you're in one of these situations, seeing somebody else got through it, not only did they get through it, they're thriving. And you don't have to be afraid. You can come out of hiding. In fact, that's what it takes. Two things kill mold: bleach and sunlight. So, there's a
But
metaphor.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. We know that bleach doesn't really bleach. It actually hides the mold. So
Really.
we literally need to come out into the sunlight and really get that healing. Think about the things that die with no sun. Think about it. If we don't get vitamin D, what happens to our bodies? What happens to our minds? Think about depression in the dark echelons of our minds. As soon as you take that person out into the sunlight, I love sun gazing, closing my eyes and lifting my head to the sun, well and truly before those harmful UV light. The healing that you get, it's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. It's amazing that you use those two analogies, mold and bleach and sunlight, because one of them is false and one of them is true. And we really must, it's a brilliant analogy, actually. And so, the whole concept is to give people, and I find this a lot, whether you like to believe it or not, there are a lot of people that are like sheep. They like to follow. And I often say is, why follow when you can lead? And they say, well, what have I got? Who am I? I haven't done anything great. And I would say, just by living, just by being and choosing life, that is greatness. You could have done yourself in. You could have chosen suicide. You could have done anything. You've chosen life. Now lead. Oh, but there's nothing special about me, they say. And I say, oh, yes, there is. You have experiences. But there is a way that you create a story, the way that you author your own story and get it out there. That's the magic. That is the part that people will say, I see myself in that story. If they can do it, I can do it. That is giving people permission to rise. And
Yes.
so sharing your story and coming out of hiding and being real and raw and authentic and really seeing that your story could change and even save someone's life, there is nothing greater.
Mm.
There is absolutely nothing greater than to save another person's life, because every life is worth living for. And so this was why, for me, it was like, there is no more holding back or hiding that part of me. It is who I am. Step up and share it proudly, because it's not where I've come from. It's who I've become because of that. And if you focus on my past, that will be dark and gloomy. But if you focus on who I am today and you see the healing, it will transmit. It will transmit into your life, and you will grab a bit of that ray and put it into your life, and you will run with it too. It's to transfer the hope and the joy and the whole, that you have a purpose. This is literally a revolutionary way to get into everyone's soul, that they are worth everything. There is no such thing as mediocre. I often like to say this is from my fashion experience. You look at the magazines that media have created, the glossy, Marie Claire's, Vogue, and all of those fashion magazines. We think that they are to inspire us. But here is the lie. They never inspired us. In fact, they made us more disillusioned that we weren't good enough. We just weren't. And so we bought into the lie that we needed to be more and have more and do more. And so for me, coming out of that fashion arena, that really heavily engrossed in fashion, moving more into personal style and brand, I like to call out the boys, for those big boys in the magazines. I like to call them out for their lies, that they would put false images of women up there, that they would remaster and remake and, pull things in and elongate this and that. They were unrealistic expectations of us. And so we would then become disillusioned. No wonder women would say, "I will never amount to this." Well, as a person, or as some people call me, fashion royalty, feel like I've been around for a very long time, I'm going to pull the wool from their eyes and go, you know what? Stop reading that trash and become your own brand, become your own level, become your own, benchmark of beauty, of expression. And this is why a personal story and who you are, this is the gold. Get clear and present that your story is just as important as Abraham Lincoln or as Oprah. We put these people on a pedestal. We are them already. We don't see our own glory and our own story in the glory in our own story. There is the magic. If you start to value the things that you've lived through, that is the power. That is the power. You are Abraham Lincoln in your own right. You don't need to be doing those things, making laws and setting all those things. If you remember one thing, we all have a job to do. If we were all Abraham Lincoln, who would be the cleaner? Who would be the janitor? Who would be the school teacher? Who would be all those things? The ministry that I would love to share with the world is that wherever you're at and the chosen profession that you are doing right now, that job is just as powerful as Abraham Lincoln changing the world or changing whatever he did in his lifetime. That is you in your story, in your world. I'm getting so emotional sharing this because that's the hope that I want to give to people. That's how much your life matters.
Yes.
That is how much your life matters.
It's absolutely true. And this is a pleasant surprise. We went down this road because I think this is the big road. I think world events are leading us to a place where the prevalence of people who are going to need this exact message cannot be underestimated and will shock people. And I mean that. I think as a civilization, we're on the verge of discovering our role models really aren't our role models. that they're flawed in ways that will have us rethink some of these assumptions we all make, that celebrities are important, or the car and the appearances, and that we're going to reconnect, I'd like to think, in the very few years to come, um, with service to others, and the importance of not some dude in Hollywood, but my neighbor here on the street, or my son or my daughter, or you know what I mean, a much more intimate, down to earth way of life. So I want to thank you. That message, I'm glad we have it. I want everyone to see this video. I think it's going to be important for years to come, and I think it's even more relevant than most people. What you have discussed in this call, it's more relevant than most people realize, but I think they will, because I think we're headed for those kind of changes.
You know, the most important thing, the message that I really want to get out there, the most important thing is in life is character, is who you are. This is what transcends generations. This is the legacy that you leave. That is the most important thing. So when we are looking externally to the stars or to people in position and power, and we are seeking to either emulate them or become them, we have missed the point, because we are never going to be them. We are ourselves. And there is enough work to be done in just one life alone, perfecting your own character, that you haven't got no time to be looking at anybody else. So when you look at your own story and you start moving through the things that have happened to you, and you start formulating and getting clear and present with the story that you will present to the world and how you will share that. And then as you share that story, your character molds and changes, and you keep up leveling. You've got enough work to do with just you. So stop looking at media and other people. Turn the focus back and say to yourself, how can my story shape and mold another person living today and the generations to come? Because that is the most calling thing in this entire world. That is the ministry. That is the message. And so the things that I do for people today, they are just connected to a learned profession, the things that I do. But when you get into my world, there's a much deeper calling. I'm calling you out. I'm calling you the things that I see. As my mother used to always say, my wise old eyes see. I used to go, oh, stop looking at me like that. She was trying to show me that as she had moved through the decades, she could see things that I couldn't see. Now I see those things a lot clearly. And so when my clients come to me, I see straight through. I see through all the dross and the garbage and the flaws. I see way past that, and I see the potential. And I breathe into them the potential, and I show them that is possible. And they then can go off. They've got two choices: do something with the knowledge, or hide the knowledge and continue living the way that you've been doing. And so I hope that I've inspired them for change. But you see, people get caught up in the outcome. Do you know that sometimes it is not our business of their outcome? We are here to plant the seed. If we plant the seed of change, we let it go, and it's not up to us. It's a divine thing how the change occurs. We're just the instrument of change. Plant the seed, let it go. We're not attached to that outcome because it's not our life. We're just here to share, be who we are, inspire, and let it go. Move on to the next soul and just keep going and going and going. That is the ministry of life. That is what it's about. It's much deeper than just, my title. My title is just a brand in this world, something that people can associate with. They see me, they see fashion. It's what I've been doing for 3.5 decades. But when you look a lot deeper, there is a much deeper ministry of human style, human design. That is where it's at. But if you need to start with just the style, if you need to start with that point, start wherever you're at, and then just continue evolving and moving through your humanity to get to the most incredible version of you.
Okay, well, that's incredible. So to maybe sum up a little bit, for our audience and anyone watching this video, um, I think let me explain. I've been collaborating with authors, especially new authors, for 11 years. And I get to a point where when we talk about launch and marketing, for example, I break it into, there's the marketing side, which is different than the publicity. And one of the things I always recommend, without in the past really knowing where to send them when it comes to publicity, is I'm aware that such a thing as media training exists. Years ago, I was on a radio show with a fellow, and he was talking about how same thing with a fellow who did a seminar on how to be a public speaker. It's a different energy level, it's a different speed of communication. There are certain tactical, mechanical things for being on camera, and there are certain things that that will serve you if you're aware of them. If you're a guest on a podcast, for example, if you're promoting your book and you're on a talk show, you're kind of, you're there to talk about your book, but you're there to what they have you there for is to discuss what's relevant at the moment, what's in the news, or what people want to know about, and your book will feed into that somehow. And you're also there to make the host look good. So these were some of the little tactical tips. Now I bring it up because here's Kristina Savka. So as an audience now, you see this organic, holistic, genuine philosophy that she approaches this with. It's not just slapping on some makeup and creating an appearance, that it's actually much more than that. Yet she also, after 3.5 decades, I'm sure, has the tactical expertise. Before we started recording, I asked, and she gave me some advices on being a better host, and that'll come through as I do more of these. But I'm mentioning it because I want to let people know how to get a hold of you. I'd like to swap over for a moment to your website. Is this maybe the best way for people to find you? At kristinasavka.com?
Yes, absolutely. You can do through the website or even social media as well. I have my Facebook page as well. So there's many ways you can reach me.
I happen to have it queued up there. See, I'm getting better.
Yes.
Wonderful. Awesome. Yes. Seek her out. Get advice. If you're a client of mine and you're thinking of doing publicity, call Kristina. It's a worthy investment. And God bless you with the ministry and the message. I just think it's not only, it would be valuable in any age, but right now it's more relevant than, we're about to find out how relevant it is, tremendously relevant. So again, it's Kristina Savka. Anything you want to mention or say before we wrap up, or anything I might have missed?
Oh, look, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting on this very candid way and getting deep and personal. And it's a thing that, most people, probably don't know a lot of these things. So it's a great way to get the message out. It's a stepping aside from the professional arena of either my studio or online, and it's a great way to share the depths of a person's soul. So I really thank you for the opportunity to be able to share my deeper message with the world.
Absolutely, and I'm forever grateful for your chapter, for the energy and the support. You've been a very important part of the project all the way through, from the creation stages through completion. Again, the book is Inspiring Women Today, Volume 1. And Kristina's chapter in there, it's called Out of Hiding, on page 97. And I think you deserve to read more of her story that we touched on there. Please do subscribe to our channel here. We've got a handful of these interviews done. Now that the book is out, more interviews are coming. It sounds now like Kristina will interview me at some point. And I'm looking forward to posting on the launch parties we had and different interviews with different women. And when you subscribe by email for our updates, it's also a handy way for me to accomplish a couple things, let you know about the progress and the inside scoop on how the book process is going for the not only this volume, but the next volume, which is going to be released March 8th, 2022, volume 2. And, you know, a lot of the backstory behind some of these incredible women who have been willing to bear it all for your benefit. So you're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Kristina. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.